Chronicles of a Gooner. Like and subscribe. Chronicles of a Gooner. Harry Symeou time. Arsenal. Come on, you Gunners. Arsenal. Chronicles of a Gooner.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode of the Chronicles of a Gooner podcast with me, your host, Harry Symeou. I hope you're all having a wonderful week so far. The Arsenal back in action tomorrow against Wolverhampton Wanderers. This has come around pretty fast, hasn't it? This is how it is nowadays. Game, recovery, press conference, game again. That's just how it goes in the Arsenal world at the moment. Delighted to see plenty of you with us in the live chat. We are streaming a little bit later in the day today, but that was because I felt it was important that we heard the update from Mikel Arteta before we sat down to record today's episode. It helps that I don't have a radio show this afternoon either, because the World Darts Championship has started at Alexandra Palace, just not too far from here, actually. And there is coverage of that on TalkSport too. So I've got a rare Friday afternoon off. I don't know what to do with myself. I really don't. But I thought I'd jump on and we'll talk about today's press conference. We'll bring you the latest on William Saliba, Declan Rice, Jurrien Timber, Leandro Trossard. And we'll cover off a couple of other stories as well from today. We'll start off, I suppose, with the news that Arsenal have announced a new partnership. That partnership is with a company called Deal, who are an all-in-one payroll and HR platform for global teams. Now, Arsenal put an announcement out about this earlier today, and this is a sponsorship and a partnership that will replace the deal that we had with Visit Rwanda. So this will be going on our shirt sleeves, apparently, and it will be replacing that deal that was previously in place that's since been ended. That was a controversial one, the Rwanda partnership, for a lot of political reasons and human rights reasons, I guess, as well. I always said that I wasn't as clued up as I probably should have been with regards to why so many people felt so strongly about that particular partnership. But I think Arsenal, as we mentioned at the time, have done the right thing in terms of just breaking that deal and an agreement. I say breaking as if they've done something wrong, ending it and moving on to someone else. And listen, sponsoring on the Arsenal shirt, whether it's at the front or on the sleeve, it's a big bloody deal. So, it's great to see that we've been able to get a partner on board nice and quickly. So that's some positive news to start the day with. We're going to get to Mikel Arteta's injury updates in a minute, because I know that's what a lot of people want to hear about. But I also want to talk about what he's had to say about Gabriel Jesus. Now, we were all, I think, really pleased to see Gabriel Jesus return to action just the other night. I think we all really appreciate the fact that he's back after such a long time out, after such a long spell on the sidelines. And I think we all saw pretty quickly what we've been missing for all this time: a really competent dribbler, someone that links up really, really well with everybody else, somebody who's got those relationships with his teammates, just on a sort of really, really special level, in that he doesn't have to play a lot. He hasn't played a lot, yet he's able to come in and just fit in with everybody else. And it feels like so many players find it really kind of easy to tune in to Gabriel Jesus's wavelength. And I'd argue that's one of his biggest qualities. Now, one of the questions put to Mikel in the press conference today was, would you consider selling Gabriel Jesus in January? Like, is that an option? And Mikel said this: I don't consider that, especially with the situation that we have right now. I think Gabby has a lot to offer the team, and he has proven that straight away in the first minutes that he was available to play. And I think this is absolutely right. First of all, who's going to buy him, having just returned from this nature of an injury? No club are going to be willing really to put big money behind the Gabriel Jesus signing without him proving his fitness. Him coming on for 26, 27 minutes away at Club Brugge in a game that was already done and dusted, that's not Gabi Jesus proving his fitness. That's Gabi Jesus making a return to the pitch. But if you're going to make a significant investment in a player, you want to be more certain, don't you? You can't ever be totally certain, but you want to be more sure that he's got over this latest knee problem and that he is now ready to play regularly. And you're just not going to be able to say that with any confidence with the really small sample size. So the idea that Arsenal would sell him in January, or, that anybody would be willing to buy him in January for the kind of money that Arsenal would accept, hence why they might be willing, I just think it's a little bit far-fetched. I think he's really, really important to us. He brings some experience, some know-how. People often talk about Arsenal missing those players that have been over the line in this league, etc., etc. Well, Gabriel Jesus is one of the few within our ranks that has done it. He's done it multiple times. He understands what's required. He's obviously a really positive influence behind the scenes. You could see, as I mentioned on yesterday's show, the love that was shown to him by his teammates after the full-time whistle on Wednesday night, just for being back available, just for being back on the pitch. So I think Gabriel Jesus has a role to play. How big that role is remains to be seen. But I think particularly at the moment with Kai Havertz still out injured, and of course with Victor Gyökeres' form being a little bit questionable. I say a little bit, it is questionable. We talked about it on the Patreon pod. It's out now. Go and check it out. We had a conversation, an honest conversation about Victor Gyökeres' start to life at Arsenal. Go over and check it out. But I think with Havertz's injury and the fact that as good as he's done there, we don't want to keep throwing Mikel Merino in at centre forward because we need more than that, unfortunately. I think keeping Gabi Jesus is wise. We've got to manage him carefully. We've got to protect him. I've said time and time again, you should expect setbacks because they will happen. A player that's been out for that long starts to train at a higher intensity, starts to get involved in match situations. There will be muscle pulls. There will be muscle issues along the way. I'm pretty certain of that. So it's really, really careful that we manage him in the right way. But look, the big story today, the big news is the injury news, because Arsenal go into yet another Premier League game with injury doubts and injury concerns. Now, Mikel Arteta has been speaking about Declan Rice, Jurrien Timber, Leandro Trossard, and William Saliba. So let's dive into the crux of what he said today. He was first asked about William Saliba, who has missed our last 3 games with a knock. This is what Mikel said on his potential availability for tomorrow. He said, we have to wait and see. Yesterday, we didn't train. So Arsenal had a day off yesterday. So we have an extra day between this afternoon. Let's see if he'll be available or not. It remains the same. If you asked me about the Everton game, which of course is coming up a little bit later in the month, I think he will be fit. But for tomorrow, I don't know. So William Saliba is a doubt. Now, he didn't rule him out, but he's also been saying it's a matter of days for what's turned in to a matter of weeks. And that's why people are a little bit concerned. That's why there's a stress and an anxiety around William Saliba's situation. He did add to it a little bit. He talked about the fact that just based on, let me just bring up the comments. Hold on, because I've got them, what they're saying on the website, but I feel like they've not captured. Have they captured every single bit of it? Just trying to see. Hold on. Let's see what Arteta on Saliba. I saw some quotes going around, but actually, when I watched the press conference, yeah, here we go. So the Athletic have covered it. Here we go. He's confirmed that he's suffering with an ankle injury, but is unsure whether he'll return to action against Wolves. So we finally got that little bit of detail that we've been looking for, that little bit of information on what exactly the injury is. I saw a quote swirling around on social media saying that because the ankle was affecting the way he was running, he ended up putting an overload on another part of the body. But I didn't see that quoted after the press conference, and I didn't see it when I watched the video of the press conference. So I don't know exactly whether that was said or whether that's someone just adding their own 2 pence to it. But ankle problem is what's being reported. So we know that that's an issue. Look, the Saliba thing's been frustrating. We've talked about it already. We've got a player that is really, really important to us, even more so in the absence of Gabriel, and he's not been available. We've sort of gone into all of the recent matches thinking he might be available. Please be available. We were completely blindsided by his absence at Chelsea. Nobody saw that coming. He even got off the team bus. I was at Stamford Bridge that day, and I was shocked to see the team sheet because I'd literally just watched him get off the bus in his tracksuit along with everybody else. And then we got that bombshell news. So he missed that game. Then, of course, he missed a couple of others. He missed Brugge, he missed Aston Villa. So that's 3 games now that we've been without him. And look, we got by in some of them, and we will continue to get by in some of them, even if he remains absent. But we all know that to continue and to maintain our standards at the back, which are really, really important to us in a lot of ways, they are our identity, as Elliot from Arsenal Vision always says. We need these guys back sooner rather than later. Now, I'm not saying that you risk them. I'm not saying that you take gambles on their fitness going forward. You certainly shouldn't be doing that with William Saliba when we're taking on Wolves this weekend. With all due respect to them, there is a chance that, you know, you leave him out, you end up seeing that backfire and it costs you. But that's something that we will probably moan about with hindsight. But right now, if we're being completely honest, if that was the way things went, that we'd moan about it with hindsight. But right now, if we're being honest, I don't think anybody wants to see William Saliba risked if leaving him out tomorrow against Wolverhampton Wanderers means that he's back for Everton away, which is a much tougher game, at least on paper and at least in theory. So that's the latest on William Saliba. DJ Ash says, yeah, Mikel did say that in the haters stream. So that's where I saw those quotes being picked up from. Okay. He was also asked about Jurrien Timber. And again, Mikel Arteta did his classic. Depends on how he feels today. It was a knock that he picked up and he wasn't feeling comfortable. So again, I think it's a matter of days, but whether it's tomorrow or not, we will see. So I didn't go to the press conference today because I couldn't. Something came up and I wasn't able to make it. Unfortunately, bit of an emergency that I had to deal with. But one of the points I always make about these early morning press conferences, and it feels like we're getting more and more of them at the moment, is that what they do is they provide Mikel Arteta and Arsenal with the perfect cover when it comes to giving us injury updates. If this press conference was at 4 p.m. after the team have trained, then they'd probably feel like they have to give us a lot more in terms of information and up-to-date information. Whereas with this, you've always got that cloak that you can just put over you and turn yourself essentially invincible when it comes to having to provide any update, because you can say, well, we've got a training session and, you know, the training session's still yet to take place, and I don't know how they're going to come through that, and I don't know if they'll be able to take part, and if they take part, how much will they be involved, etc., etc. Early morning press conferences provide Arsenal with that cover. And so I'm not saying they're pointless. It's always interesting to hear from the manager. It's always interesting to try and read between the lines and to get whatever tidbits of information that we do. But the early morning press conferences often lead to very little in terms of concrete updates, and people should know that, I think. And then he was asked about Leandro Trossard, and again, surprise, surprise, he said another one that is a matter of days. It sounds boring, but that's the reality. We don't know. So yeah, you know, we are still none the wiser really on any of those players. On Declan Rice, it's illness, don't know how long he's going to be out for. The hope is that he will recover in time. Leandro Trossard injured, Timber injured, William Saliba still injured as well. What are we going to see in terms of players returning against Wolverhampton Wanderers? The truth is, right now, we don't really know. I mean, obviously, he doesn't want to give it away to the opposition. Like, obviously, we get that. We understand that. But when you're trying to, like, I always do my 11, don't I, going into every game, and they're becoming increasingly harder to put together with every passing week because we just have so little information with regards to who's available and who's not. But that's the latest from London Colney today. So yeah, we'll take a short pause, and when we come back, we'll take some of your questions from the live chat. We will bring you my Wolves lineup tomorrow morning. I'll have some time to think about it, and I'll string together my 11 for the game, taking into account all the things we know or don't know, more like, and we'll get that out to you tomorrow as well. But just a quick reminder before we move on to that Q&A section after the break. Remember, you can become a Chronicles of a Gooner patron, and there is a special offer on at the moment. It runs until Christmas Eve. You'll be able to sign up and get 50% off the first month of your membership. The membership is only £3 a month anyway, so you'll be getting the full month essentially for £1.50. And for £1.50, you're going to get bonus bits of content after every match. There's a new one out, which was released this morning. It should have come out last night. It was slightly delayed because I went to, as it was put in the chat, the evil dentist. No, I'm joking. She's really nice, to be fair. I went to the dentist and my mouth was a bit funny when I came home. So I decided not to try and record at that point. And we've got it out to you today. Look, there will be an episode after every single Arsenal match. Every episode that you get here on the Chronicles of a Gooner normally will be available to you completely ad-free. Plus, you become a member of our Discord server and wider Chronicles of a Gooner patron family. Remember, you can sign up right now for just $1.50 for the first month, £3 a month thereafter. You get all that bonus content and all the other things I've described. And if you enter the code XMAS25, it's detailed in the description, just in case I've forgotten it or got it wrong. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It is in the description below, so double check that. If you put that in when you're checking out, that discount will be applied to you. And a massive thank you to everybody who's shown their support already. Right, short pause. When we come back, we'll take some of your questions and thoughts from the live chat.
You're listening to the Chronicles of a Gooner. Like and subscribe.
Welcome back to the Chronicles of a Gooner. Steino Moon says, hey, Harry, great to be here today. My question is on Eze. It's not news anymore, but he can disappear in big games. Do you think he hides from responsibility compared to Odegaard? I don't want to sit here and say he hides from taking on responsibility. I think that they're very, very different players, Martin Odegaard and Eberechi Eze. One is someone who will go seeking, will go looking for the ball in other areas of the pitch if he thinks that's what's the right thing to do in that particular instance and on that particular occasion. And then you've got another player in Eberechi Eze who knows where he can do the most damage and prefers to patrol that area. And once the service comes, nobody can doubt that Eberechi Eze can make things happen, right? But I think one's a bit more proactive than the other. And that's why it might feel like one is more willing to take on responsibility than the other. But I just think footballers are different. Players are different. Players have different styles. That's what makes this game and this sport so wonderful. I don't think we should label Eze as someone that does not want to take responsibility. Odegaard's game is built around responsibility in that he goes and seeks things. He'll press, he'll defend quite well. And he's the captain as well, which in itself means greater responsibility. So I don't think like it's wrong to say one takes on more responsibility in terms of the bigger picture than the other. But I also don't think it should be a stick to beat Eberechi Eze with, because that's not what we signed him to be. And I think we all know that. And so that's where I'm at on it. But listen, I've been thinking a lot about the Odegaard criticism over the last couple of games, and I get it, like I do. He's not impacting the game in the same way that he did 2-3 years ago. He's not impacting the game in the same way that he did even more recently than that. The injury problems have certainly taken their toll on him, and it's taking him time to get back to rhythm, get back to full flow. But also, you have to constantly be adaptable. Things change, and people suss you out, and people know that if you can shut down Martin Odegaard, it's a big source of creativity for Arsenal. And so he's got different challenges to face, and sometimes it takes a little bit of time to overcome those. I'm not saying he's been great, but I do think that sometimes when the team struggles as a collective, it's quite easy to make Odegaard the scapegoat and then go, well, he ain't scored this season, and he ain't done this season, and he ain't done that this season. When in actual fact, he might not always be the issue. Like we talked about it post the Villa game. I didn't think he was amazing, but I didn't think he was half as bad as some people made out. I thought there were other players in that team on that day that performed way below their level, that just got way less stick and way less criticism than Martin Odegaard. And I found that at the time quite strange. I got to be honest. And that's where, recency bias can kick in as well. You think about it. We'd just been through this period where we were winning football matches. Eberechi Eze was playing in that role, which meant Odegaard wasn't in the team. Eze plays that role differently. He's got the hat-trick in the North London derby, etc., etc. There was a lot of fanfare around him, and that probably led to people feeling to a degree that we don't need Martin Odegaard. But you know what? We do. And over the course of the season, I think people will realize that and see that. So, yeah. It's an interesting question. AFC says, do you have Twitch, Harry? We'll just fling you my Prime sub every month. I don't, mate. I don't. I can barely use the platforms that we're on, let alone add in some more to the list. But don't worry about it, mate. Thank you so much. I really, really do appreciate it. Steve Stone says, Wolves at home, we should have enough strength even with multiple changes. Apologies for taking Wolves lightly, but they're not exactly the strongest in the league yet. But this is the thing, right? The whole purpose of building the squad that we did was that we would be able to make those changes in a game like this. You know, we all know that you take Saliba, Gabriel out, your defense is not the same, okay? You take Declan Rice out of your midfield, it's not the same. You take Bukayo Saka out of your attack, it's not the same. There are certain players that no matter how much depth you have, you cannot replace, you cannot replicate their level. And one of the arts of management and of rotation is to be able to recognize when's a good time to do it, when do you think you can get away with it, and then making sure that that happens versus knowing when you can't get away with it. So Villa, you couldn't get away with it. Villa away, no way. Wolves at home is the game that you are most likely statistically to get away with it in the Premier League right now. So yeah, let's see. Let's see how it goes. But I'm sure we'll be fine. I'm not going into the Wolves game concerned. I'm not. And normally I'm that guy that's like really, oh, you know, you got to take this one seriously and you got to be really careful and you should never be complacent. Obviously, it's a Premier League game. And so there's a level of professionalism and sort of focus that you have to show. But I'm not honestly worried about this one at this moment in time. Hopefully those are not famous last words. Ober1 says, Odegaard was Arsenal's best player against Villa. Did I watch a different match? He was for periods of the game. But I think there was frustration in that he seems to get the ball a lot in certain areas and not always do we get the end result that we're looking for or the productivity that we're looking for. So I thought he was one of our better players. I wouldn't say he was the best, but I thought he was one of our best performers. And I said that after the game. The thing is, he set the bar so high in terms of how he can influence games that we're always going to hold him to that standard. And when he's not at that level, there will be scrutiny. I don't mind him coming under scrutiny because he's the Arsenal captain, right? And that's part of the territory. I get frustrated when I feel like people want to scapegoat him. I don't get why we want to scapegoat any of our players. You know, this is a squad that we hope is going to go on and achieve amazing things this season. Get behind them, support them. When you need to be critical, be critical. But I guess I would say this: Martin Odegaard was not the reason that we didn't get something from Villa. You know, I've seen all sorts of like crap going around online as well. I saw this video where Martin Odegaard is defending in the lead up to the Villa goal, the second goal, the winner, and he's sort of like behind the play, and he's kind of like he goes to make a tackle and then he sort of withdraws and then he steps in again and he withdraws and people saying, oh, look, this is exactly the kind of soft captain that Arsenal have and this is why they won't win anything, blah, 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 blah. And I just think to myself, like, are you people serious? He's coming from behind the attacker. Do you want him to dangle out a leg and commit a foul or give the player something to trip over or roll over or engineer contact with and win a penalty kick, in which case they win the game anyway? And then you're all talking about how naive he was and how clumsy and stupid he was. Like, I feel like we've got to this space with Martin Odegaard where some of the criticism is fair and valid, and that's absolutely fine. But some of it is stupid as well. Some of it is people literally nitpicking, and we got to be really, really careful with that. Got to be really, really careful with that. Lots of you suggesting that it could be the day to go with the Eze, Rice, Odegaard midfield. I'm not against that. If there's a game to do it, this is probably it. But again, there are question marks over Declan Rice, aren't there? I hope he's recovered. And if he has, I'd probably give Zubimendi a break. And at least from the start. And yeah, we see how it goes. Let's take one or two more of your comments before we wrap up on today's show. Ron says, do you think that we should still give Saka a breather and start Madueke instead versus Wolves? There's a huge amount of games coming up. I wouldn't be against that. Noni Madueke will be buzzing. He'll be full of confidence. He'll be really sort of ecstatic with the way that things went in midweek in the Champions League. Got his second and third goals in Arsenal colours. If I pick up the team sheet at Emirates Stadium tomorrow and Noni Madueke is on it ahead of Bukayo Saka, I'm not going to be annoyed. I'm not going to be frustrated. I'm not going to be disappointed. And I could understand the decision, but I'll be very surprised if having been left out in midweek, Bukayo Saka's left out from the start. I just don't see it happening. Not saying I'm against it, just don't see it happening. And I guess you could argue, guys, that Bukayo Saka, in terms of outputs, hasn't really been at the level that we've become accustomed to in recent years. And so maybe him playing in a game like this where he could potentially score 1 or 2, maybe that might set something in motion that we could benefit from over the coming months. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Right, look, I'm going to sign out there. A short episode today, but we will bring you a more comprehensive match preview going into tomorrow. So that'll be with you tomorrow morning. We'd have heard from both managers by then. We'll have some up-to-date news with regards to availability, at least from the Wolves side. and we'll sort of pick an 11 and talk a little bit about how the game might go on Saturday morning's episode. Remember, there's a new Patreon episode out, so now's a great time to sign up and use that discount. That is a Christmas promotion. Check it out. Link in the description. Come over, get access to additional content, get access to all our episodes ad-free and our Discord server and all the rest of it. And we'll see you all very, very soon. Until the next one, take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful Friday and up the Arsenal. Goodbye.
Chronicles of a Gooner. Like and subscribe. Chronicles of a Gooner. Harry Symeou time. Arsenal. Come on, you Gunners. Arsenal. Chronicles of a